PJ Fleck got dunked in some mayo. We're talking about it here at the Gopher Broke podcast. I almost tripped up on that. Can you believe it?
That's right.
All right, you're listening to the Gopher Broke podcast. I actually got it right that time around. I'm not going to say other podcast names. I'm not going to trip over our own one. But I mean, I think back to like last year's shows when we would do some of these prediction shows together, and I messed up on your last name. And I've known your last name since I was like 5. So
literally your whole
it happens. It happens. But overall, we're glad to have you here. We're happy to talk some Gophers football once a week for you. If you haven't hit subscribe yet on YouTube, be sure to do that. We are on all streaming platforms when it comes to podcasting. And if we're not on your podcasting platform, hit me with a DM at Gophers Kane Rob over on Twitter, and I'll make sure we get up on that podcasting platform. But let's talk some Gophers. Let's talk some Mayo Bowl. How are you feeling? You called it. You said, look, PJ wins bowl games, and he was like, yep, Trist, I got you. Here we go. How are you feeling after that Mayo Bowl game?
I feel great. I mean, that was the perfect way to cap off a season that over-delivered for every Gopher fan. It was absolutely great. Like, and it happened the same way we talked about. PJ opens the playbook. He throws out the trick plays. He's not worried about. He plays like he does not care if he wins, and it is the best. It's my favorite PJ Fleck to watch, because even when I remember used to talk to Brev about like the playbook and stuff, Brev would be like, oh yeah, we put this in. Yeah, we have this. Oh, we have this installed, but we never really, they have a lot of plays that they put in that are fun like that, but you don't get the opportunity all the time. And he just keeps them in his pocket. And then bowl game comes out. He's like, well, I got to use these.
Right,
So
he's got them all in the chamber. He's like, here you go. Here,
unload the clip.
We didn't get to use them at all.
The clip. It's great.
See, we wish Andy Reid would do that with the Chiefs, because they've been teasing the behind the back pass for like years now. And it's like, when is it going to come, Andy Reid? I mean, it would have been the perfect opportunity back in week 18. Instead of resting your guys, break out your behind the back pass. I mean,
let's see what you got.
But anyways, we'll stick to the Gophers talk, not Chiefs or anything else like that. But I do want to talk about this bowl game a little bit. We'll jump into some favorite moments and things like that. But overall, we crushed it on the predictions. We didn't get the actual score predictions right, but you called the trick plays, and there were many a trick plays. I called the Zaquan Bryan interception. That happened. You got it on the dot for Darius Taylor rushing yards, 113 on the nose.
Ball.
And then, yes, we both said Elisha Spencer could use his opportunity to boost his draft stock and be the number one guy. That happened.
MVP.
Maverick Baranowski led in tackles. And so overall, I won in this one 7 predictions to 4. It's because we doubled down on a lot of them. But then that Zaquan Bryan spot on call, along with I think the Maverick Baranowski tackles call, and there was one other thing, helped me kind of vault ahead of your spot on Darius Taylor call. But overall, like Trish said, we know ball. So we know Gophers ball. If you ask me something else, I might stumble a little bit, might fumble the bag.
I'll be honest, I barely know Gophers ball even, but
at least we keep it real. We keep it a buck. Hopefully you're tapped in. Now it's the off season officially.
Oh yeah.
I said it was the off season before, and you were like, absolutely not. We have a game. This season is still going, and there's no games now. The season is done. The roster is turning over. We're losing a bunch of seniors. But let's talk about our favorite moments from this final game for some of those seniors. What do you remember in this game that you were just like, man, I loved it. I loved this specific moment.
It's that first kind of wrinkle play, that the Lindsey to Gears pass. It was incredible. And then okay, I'm gonna give you a second one. Hopefully this isn't yours,
yep,
but the fake punt, obviously, or was it a fake kneel, fake tush push?
Oh yeah,
and you have all 3 of the tight ends going down the field, and they're all
you just like seeing all the tight ends. That's it.
To see a tight end do the first down celebration, nothing warms my heart more. It's the best.
You might as well, like, we got to get you signed up for Tight End University. Get you in. Hey, look, that's Brevin's
Credential.
homework task. Get him into Tight End University, and then have you be the spokesperson, the
So
sponsor, the whatever it is. We got to get you as like the fan face of Tight End University, because I don't think there would be a better voice in the space.
that's all I want. All I want to do is hang out with some oversized guys and feel like the little guy for once in my life. That would be great.
Pause. But anyways, we are going to move more into this game. Are there any players?
Don't clip it.
Are there any players in this game that surprised you, that popped off, that you were like, whoa, this is what we get to look forward to next season? Or maybe it was a senior too. Any players that stand out that you're like, holy crap, I did not know that was coming?
Magnum.
Mangum.
I texted you right away. I was like, who is the buddy? Is a monster. He's huge. He looks like
bro, our RB room is stacked next year. I was like, yeah, he's gone.
All I could think, I was like, I get it. Like, we got guys, like, it's tough to get carries, but we got to find some carries for this man. This dude is huge.
Massive, just tanking through people too.
It
was like Darius Taylor couldn't get the ball going for those the first drive or so. And they're like, you know what? Give it to Mangum. Mangum's like, here, watch me bulldoze these people. And I think once Darius saw that, he was bulldozing, he was cutting, it was like the switch flipped and it was a Darius game from there on out.
Yeah, dude just came off the sideline and told Darius, he's like, hey, they're not actually tackling anybody. They can't tackle. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, he's like, this is the C squad. Like, go ahead and get it. Go ahead and get it. All right, but what was the most impressive moment for you, I guess? I was going to say Jared Mangum stepping up and really crushing the defenses in some spots, but were there anything else that you were like, man, that one moment did it for me? That's what put it over the top, or that's what sealed the deal, or anything like that?
I mean, other than the stuff we already talked about, I mean, if the people don't know, we're a Zaquan podcast now.
Yes,
I mean, we were before. You called this, and we are a Zaquan podcast. Like, shout out to him.
Into existence.
Oh, you really did. Yeah. So he's a fan of ours. We're a fan of his. It's a mutual respect of his work. So that is my moment. Once he got that pick, I was like, yep, the page has turned. I'm ready for next season. Let's see what he got.
Just remember this moment though, because you were like Anthony Smith. You know, you kept hyping him, and then he popped off, and then I kept hyping Zaquan, and you were like, there it is. So I just got to pick my player for next year too and find it. And maybe they don't do anything for the rest of the year or the beginning of the year, anything like that. But when it comes to the bowl game, they'll shine. And then the next year is where they just go ballistic. They're a starter and they do everything. So I'm here for it. I mean, I'm with you. What, on the flip side though, was the most disappointing moment of this Mayo Bowl? Was there anything that you're like, man, I hate that, or I wish this would have happened, or anything like that?
There's nothing really that, I mean, I wish Max would have broke how many more yards did he need
to get number 1?
Yeah.
I can't remember where he finished third all time, right?
Wasn't he short?
I think he needed.
Oh no, it was DT was short on yardage.
You and I are on the same wavelength right now.
Yes.
So Max was also pretty close. I think he was still under 100 yards from being second all time in single season pass yards. But yes, you and me both wanted to see DT break the 1,000-yard season, 14 yards away to finish that one. And when it was 4th and 1, and I was like, do they tush push here? Do you run it to Darius and hopefully he breaks one and he gets that 1K? And then they pulled out the play you talked about with the fake tush push, toss to the tight ends, and I was like, okay, that was an awesome way to do it, but also let my boy get his yards. Come on, man.
That was probably the only disappointing part, and I didn't even realize it because, again, not a numbers guy, until you texted me afterwards, and I was like, damn, that's tough.
All right, but the most important question from this bowl game, and there's actually, like, these next 3 questions are probably the most important questions, but this one is the most important question from the Gopher Broke podcast, and that is, did you learn Pop Watson on that Friday evening? Did you learn Pop Watson?
You know, there was a point in the beginning of the game where I was like, are we going to have to learn this? And I was going to text you to make sure you had a refresher, but maybe we're going to have to wait until next year to learn Pop Watson, I think.
Pop Watson is like that extinct language that's just going out of sorts, and it's really just, you got to let it go. You just got to let it be.
I hope nothing but the best for him. I hope lots of people learn him, but It wasn't his
Yep.
day. It wasn't his
It
day.
won't be
That
Minnesota.
defense. That
Minnesota
defense.
will not be learning Pop Watson.
No.
All right. The next most important question: did you ever think that you would hear PJ Fleck say, "It's Flava Flav, yeah, boy"?
Nobody on the field was more excited. You have to none of those kids were alive when Public Enemy was a thing. Like, this is crazy. Like,
Most of them probably weren't alive for Flavor of Love either, where you would have been
no,
secondarily exposed.
there had to be at least, I would say there's at least 20% of actually, there's a bunch of Minnesota kids on there. There's at least 30% of those kids who had no clue who that was when it came off. There's no way they thought that through. It was awesome. It was electric, but that was crazy.
Bruh, but and initially I would not have guessed it, but PJ Fleck absolutely was a Flavor Flav fan.
It was
He spot on, just spot on.
electric. He loved it. I haven't seen him so happy. That was the best bowl game of his life because Flava Flav was there. Like,
And don't worry,
you could tell him that he's signing the #1 recruit in the nation tomorrow, and I don't think he'd be as excited.
I think it would still be 2 tones down. It would be like 2 clicks
Exactly.
down from what we saw with PJ Fleck and Flavor Flav. And also, we got to make sure. Look, I got to look into copywriting, make sure we're not going to get sued or cease and desist, because I have gotten a cease and desist for a podcast before. Never want to go there again. But if we can get that "yeah, boy" at the end of our intro, I am absolutely going to put that in. I'm absolutely going to get it there. So hopefully that will be happening here in the next few episodes, but you're going to have to tune in and find out.
Oh,
But on the
man.
flip side, PJ Fleck got the Mayo bath. And
Love
I'm not sure if they doubled it, but it looked absolutely disgusting. But he was hype. I mean, he's got so many photos. Like, we'll make sure to put one of those photos as the thumbnail image if you haven't seen it yet. And if you have, I'm sorry. If you haven't, you'll probably be scarred from our thumbnail. But it's got to happen because Duke's Mayo Bowl, Gophers win. You get the Mayo bath. Simple as that. How'd you feel seeing PJ get dunked on with some Mayo?
It was great. I mean, it felt awesome. I that was probably my first time tuning in to the entire Duke's Mayo Bowl, like to watching it beginning to end. And I can't remember who was it. Who did the butt fumble? Was it Mark
Mark
Sanchez? Was
Sanchez.
he
Yep,
announcing it? Those two, the announcers, I felt so bad for them. The one
Oh
dude,
yeah, it
he
wasn't
hated it.
Sanchez announcing for this game, but I know what you're
Who
saying.
was it? I
Yeah,
thought it was him. I can't remember who they were, but the one guy did not like it. You could tell he was like, I didn't sign up for this. You guys did not tell me that I was gonna have to eat this stuff before you assigned me this game. And I felt bad for him. He hated it.
bro. The worst one was when they gave him like the dilly bar, and he put it in, and the man literally like had a visceral reaction, like he was gagging and choking, and I was like, oh no, what is happening?
But he next to him was like, it's not that bad. He said, what's wrong with you?
He was not having it. He was like, he probably left that day saying, if y'all don't triple my pay, I will never announce for this network again.
It was
Ever.
crazy. Imagine the years of schooling he had to do. The broadcasting, the journalism school. Just
Straight out the window. Straight out the window.
He didn't get this training. He's like, I missed this chapter of the book where it said I might have to eat mayo on various foods. It was crazy.
It was wild. And they were naming some crazy mayo. I mean, like mayo with a hint of lime and like
Hey,
things
some
like
of
that.
it.
Now, if you throw a hint of lime on a dilly bar, I can see why the boy is gagging. But overall, there were some that were interesting. I'm gonna have to dive in. I did not know my Duke's Mayo, but your boy's gonna start studying. I'm gonna pass off that Pop Watson book and grab the Duke's Mayo book and try to learn that one.
Oh.
But the final thing we'll talk about with this bowl game, are there any players, young players, or anything like that that stood out in this game that got you hyped for next year that you're like, man, I can't wait to see that person grow or take the next steps or get to spring ball?
I mean, for sure, we talked about Zaquan already. I have to say also, new K's, baby.
Yep.
I'm very excited. And
bro, did you
partially,
see that block? That block he put on two people, one of them straight on his butt. Ooh.
See, that's the type of stuff we need. I will say, the name is getting me excited. The name Nuke is a great nickname. And so that could be where a lot of my excitement is. But after this game, he played really well. What do you have? Three catches? Two catches?
I think he had 2 catches for
Yeah.
like 30 some yards. One of them was a big one, big conversion too. So
Yeah.
that was good.
So I'm excited.
I'm with you. Also, even though it was one pass, like Drake Lindsay, sign me up. I'm excited for that one. Now you got articles starting to flow out, interviews starting to flow out about how Max Brosmer and him and their connection and like how synced they were and the different ways they thought about and asked about different film. I'm like, bro, what? Okay, yes, sign
Yes.
me up. Like,
Mhm.
I'm ready. If he's gonna have a fraction of that IQ that Max Brosmer had, and you're talking about the player who has a huge arm, he's 6'5", he's got the size, he's sign me up.
Oh
Sign
yeah.
me up. Pyron, welcome to the backup. I appreciate you. I hope that you don't have to see the field, but if you do, you'll hold it down, and I have full faith in that. Jackson Collick, freshman coming in. Have fun learning. It's going to be a little bit, but this is Drake's
That's
job.
fine.
Sorry.
That's fine.
It's
That's
Drake's
how
job.
I think. As long as these younger quarterbacks, I mean, obviously Pyron not as young of a quarterback, but the younger quarterbacks know, like, hey, my chance will come, and as long as I learn and I'm prepared, I think we'll be so much more successful in that quarterback spot. Like, we won't have to go back to the run offense. Like, as long as these cats know, like, be patient, wait my turn, and actually absorb and get everything you can about off the field stuff, you're going to be so much more better off once you get the field.
That is a big if. We'll see if it happens or if the Gophers will have the NIL to make sure it happens, but time will tell, and we'll be here covering it for you. Now, I want to move on from the people we're hyped about from that game. Also, shout out to Nathan Roy, who got a couple snaps on the O-line. Hopefully, he's one of those featured dudes next year. But I want to move past that part of the game, move past the hopefuls, talk about 2 transfers that are headed out for the Gophers. 2 guys that, one especially who showed promise on the field, but both had some ties with the Gophers community for sure. Coleman Bryson, who was the bowl game MVP at the Pinstripe Bowl. He is transferring out. And then Martin Owusu, who is Prior Lake. Him and Greg Johnson went to high school together, played together, were tight. One was on the D line, one was on the O line. Unfortunately, Martin Owusu hasn't been able to crack the rotation. Now, I thought it was going to be look, Martin, it's going to take like 2 years or so, and then you're going to be that dude. Like, you're going to have that Tyler Cooper route where maybe you got to sit 2 or 3 years, but then all of a sudden, bang, bang, you got 2 huge productive years. That's the route I anticipated this would go. But unfortunately, we'll never know because he is hitting the transfer portal after his redshirt freshman year. How do you feel about either one of those guys?
I'm Bryson. Obviously, he's been here a couple of years, and that is tough. But I can always understand, like, when it comes to depth, especially with the year Coy had. I can
Right,
see
you
where
got
you're
Coy,
sitting.
you got Kerry Brown.
Exactly, and it's not a position where there's 4 or 5 of you on the field, like a D lineman or offensive lineman. So it's kind of tough. It's a tough spot to be competitive at. So I can understand that. Owosu, I was kind of disappointed in. That one kind of hurt, I think, a little bit more just because he was so young and he's a Minnesota guy. So
Right.
you don't want to lose those in-state guys. And again, like you said, I kind of was excited about him. Like, it's a tough position. It's competitive, but again, there's only 4 of you on the field. You get these guys are going out, and one more year. Like, how many D linemen did we lose this year for sure to seniors? Just three,
Yeah, but a
4?
lot of them were edge, and I think Martin played on the inside. So you're talking
Yeah,
about really the only player.
East.
There's not really a interior defensive lineman leaving because Jalen Logan Redding is coming back. Devin Eastern is coming back. He could have maybe moved into one of those next 2 on the interior line, but also you talk about Rushawn Lawrence just got brought in from the transfer portal. Stephen Curtis got brought in from the transfer portal. So I don't really know. I could see like, hey, y'all are bringing in a lot of talent in here. Like, you haven't given me any opportunities now. Our best starters are coming back for another year. This would be 3 years of me not getting any playing time. So I get it. I understand it. I'm sad by it, but that is what today's college football landscape looks like nowadays.
And could it be like, what are the rules as far as once you're in the portal, you can come back out, correct?
Yeah, you
If
can
you're,
withdraw. You can withdraw.
yep,
Technically, I believe the rules are once you hit the portal and officially make that declaration with your compliance office at the university, technically a team doesn't have to hold a scholarship for you anymore. So you
yeah,
could be like, hey, I'm going to withdraw. And they'd be like, sorry, we don't have any more room.
but
But
they could take you back, but you won't get your
right.
scholarship back necessarily, right?
You not necessarily. You could
Okay.
if they still
Yeah,
have it, but it's not guaranteed.
because then in that point, I could see where you test the waters maybe and just see like, hey, am I getting other like bigger school offers, or is it, am I going to have to go down, or
I don't know, man. It's tough because
it's
I
so
just
hard.
being in some of those pressers with PJ too. Like the second a dude enters the transfer portal, legitimately, he's like, "We don't talk about people who aren't on this team," and I'm
Dead
just
to me.
like,
Dead to me.
"Damn!" Like, oh, it's a wrap. Like, can you imagine if that's the attitude though, and you're like, "Yo, knock knock,
Yeah.
PJ, can I
Hey,
come back?" Like, do you think he's
what
like,
had happened
"Yeah,
was,
come on, bro, come on back in, let's talk about it." Like, and because then every media person's gonna be like, so PJ he left, but then he came back. Why'd he leave? How you? He's on the team now, so you can talk about it, right? Like you know what I mean? Like you
yeah,
just
I feel that. I feel it's tough to get your girl back. You can't go back. Once you leave the Gophers, you're just standing outside in the rain.
you start going astray, yeah, looking elsewhere. It ain't always
Yep.
that. What do they say? The grass isn't always greener.
It is not. It is not. I think there's a lot of kids that are learning that currently. But hey,
Yep.
I wish him nothing but the best. I do
No,
hope
me
him
too. I
find
actually sent
success,
him a
find some
DM.
playing time.
I heard back from him. Like I wish him nothing but the best. I think he's gonna find a good spot, landing on his feet, get some playing time. But I wish we could side here with the Gophers. And we're gonna move past that and talk about one more thing before we get to the headline topic of the day, which is Max Brosmer. We got to talk
Oh,
about QB1. But before we get to him, I want to bring up Perich because Thor Nystrom, pretty big voice on Twitter in the fantasy football space, in the betting space, in the college football space. Like, dude's got like over 50,000 followers. Like, tons of people know him. He's from right here in Minnesota. I believe he's a Hawkeyes fan and a Jayhawks fan. So it's
it,
just like, yeah,
why? Why?
we try to ignore those factors. Die-hard Vikings fan, which I could care
This
less,
man is
but
all over the
I'm gonna
place.
I'm I'm gonna give right,
I
right.
can't judge. No, you chaotic too. Your fan base, your fandom is chaotic.
I'm Minnesota everything except for the two sports I care about, which is NBA
Packers.
basketball and NFL. I mean, I care about college football and everything too, but what I'm saying is like the hockeys, the soccers, the
Well, that's all
sure. I'm
Minnesota.
Minnesota. I'm Minnesota. Like,
Yeah, but you got the Packers takes away, the Celtics takes away. It's yucky. It's yucky. That's not, ain't it?
we'll dive into that for another day. But what I do want to get to is Thor Nystrom was talking about Coy Perich and said, and I don't know if he was talking to Coy's agent or where the connection is. He does have some sort of inside track of some form of information, and he has for a number of players too. I've had some good conversations with a buddy of his and a little bit with him as well. All that to say, Coy Perich, very locked into Minnesota, wants to be a hometown hero, has had offers and things like that come his way, and he is locked in. That being said, if the Gophers don't find themselves in a competitive space a year from now, say he clarified, he said not saying they have to get into the college football playoff, but if they're not at least competing and getting to the point where they can be in the conversation, looking at 8 wins in the regular season or something like that. So basically, if they take a step back from this season, then maybe he could be have an open ear to possibilities or things like that. What are your thoughts there? Do you think there's some smoke there? Do you think that look, Coy is feeling the hometown hero vibes and they're only going to grow from this next year? I believe some of his boys from high school attend the U of M as well, so you got that little like group with you as well. Do you think that's something that could really sway him, or do you think after another year in this program with more NIL dollars going his way, with more praise, with more hype and everything like that, that he's probably going to be a Gopher for good?
With Coy, I think he's probably going to be a Gopher for good. Like I think that he's excited to be here, and he has that sense of like Minnesota pride where this is where I want to build my career, and I want to build up the guys around me. I want to build up this program and be a part of something special. With that being said, I think you could take that statement and put it on any single player in college football right now,
Mm-hmm.
and you could say, well, yeah, he's going to hear it. If somebody's calling saying, hey, we got a mil for you, we got two
Right.
mil for you, yeah, I'm
You'd
going
be
to take
stupid
that
not
call.
to listen.
Don't
Right.
not pick up that call. Like it's crazy to think that. And I don't know what it's different for every player too, what their living situation is and stuff like that. But I think it's a pretty basic statement you could put on anyone and say, yeah, if they're not competitive, then your best player might leave. Then yeah, or might hear out something about, somebody trying to leave. So I don't think Coy will. I think Coy is a Minnesota guy. He seems like he's having a blast. And I think to say that because we don't make the college football playoff, which is 12 teams make that out of how many hundreds of football teams that are eligible to make it, I don't think that it's going to affect him. I don't think if we don't make the playoff next year, he's going to leave. So
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I mean, like you said, if somebody's going to call saying, look, we got 3 mil, we got a mil, whatever it is, like, you're going to listen to the call, like, plain and simple. You might even bring that call back and be like, hey, coach, this is what I'm hearing. I know that's tampering, like,
yeah,
but can you throw a little extra NIL my way is what I'm saying. But at the same time, say, look, I'm locked in, like, I'm ready to go. Just know I got these offers, but I want to be here. Can we help get me closer to that type of thing, while also, like, how do I keep contributing or elevating myself to the next level? Now, other things to stress with Perich too, that he probably wouldn't get the opportunities at other universities. I don't care if it's Ohio State. I don't care if it's Oregon or wherever else it would be. They're already talking about Perich could get involved into the offense next year because he is that big of an athlete and he's that big of a weapon, and like he has that presence here in Minnesota. Like they could throw some plays and ideas and looks his way. You're not going to get that elsewhere because you don't have that connection and that tie built up. PJ and him, even through the scouting process, it was like, yo, this dude's a returner. This dude is an athlete. This dude is an offensive player. He's a defensive weapon. PJ saw that time in, time again, went to his school multiple times, saw his high school games and things like that. Like he knows that they have that type of relationship to have that opportunity, and I don't think you get that elsewhere. Also, Perich has called this safety U. You have
yep,
Antoine Winfield. You
yep.
have Jordan Howden. You have Tyler Nubin. Not only do you have an access to that pipeline and that knowledge base, but even if you don't get to the college football playoff, but you put yourselves in that 7-8 wins, you keep producing with interceptions, you keep producing with tackles and showing up at the top of the leaderboards in the Big Ten Conference, keep getting Big Ten first team ballots and things like that, you're easily going to find yourself there because those guys in the NFL from the Gophers are producing and they're getting on the field and they're putting up numbers there. And that shows that this coaching staff has that tendency to push those guys in. And if you're the next one doing it and you're doing it at a more elite level from that same program, bro, you're going. Like it's a wrap. So I think he's going to be locked in here at home as well.
No, I love everything about that, especially if I didn't hear the talks about maybe getting him some offensive reps. If we got a little Travis Hunter action going, I might have
He
to be the
got in
first to
on
say
two
Perich for
plays.
Heisman. Then there
He
it
got
is.
in on 2 or 3 plays here at the end in the, was it Penn State or was it was one of these last home games, or maybe it was an away game. I saw Koya, number 3, on the field, and he had one opportunity where he could have caught it, but it was like it hit him in the hands or went past. But
I
he only
love
saw
that.
like 2 or 3 snaps. But
Defensive
that's
back.
how subtle it was. You didn't even know. You didn't
I
even know he
love
was on
that.
the field.
I love that. I love that.
All right, but now we got to get to the topic of the hour. We got to get to our guy, Max Brosmer. Max Brosmer, I want to know, is he a Gopher great? I have a case and a belief, but I want to know your thoughts on it first.
Now, I've thought about this for a couple weeks. You posed this question to me a little while ago, and I think it's tough to say he is a great, but I think he is. I don't know how to describe it. He will be always remembered, if that makes sense, because he came in for 1 year. In a year that we were supposed to have, what was it, 6 wins, 5.5 wins?
I believe they had us at 4.5 to start
Four and a
the
half wins,
season.
and we end the season with a bajillion. Okay?
A bajillion.
But either
A
way, I
bajillion
think
is 8, folks. A bajillion is 8. I just want to clarify.
it's the same number, basically the same thing. And so I think he will always be memorable, but I think it's gonna be up to him. I think in 5 years, if he's playing well in the NFL, everyone's gonna be like, "Yep, go for legend."
You to go for great, bro.
That's what I'm saying. That's what will happen. It'll be go for legend, go for legend. But 5 years from now, if he's not in the NFL and he's not doing anything, we're still going to be like, well, 2019 was pretty sick. And I don't know. I could be wrong.
2019 was a long time ago, Trist.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. We're still thinking about it. We still talk about 2019. That was a great
I
year.
see what you're saying.
You know
I
what I'm
thought you were
saying?
saying this year was like 2019. I was like, no, bro,
that's what
it's
I'm saying.
2024.
5 years from now, are we going to be like, dang, that 2024 season was something special?
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to say if he's a great, but numbers wise, I mean, in 1 year, no. In 1 year to come in and do what he did, Now
He's
I'm going.
talking himself into
I'm
it.
talking
You've seen
myself.
him talk. You're getting it live.
When he comes in, he doesn't know nobody. He comes in and literally just like, hey, give me the wheel to this ship. I'm steering now. Like I'm putting us in the right direction. I got this. Puts his captain hat on. Damn, he might be a great.
All right, let me make my case, and you can decide.
Let me hear. Let me hear.
All right, so Max Brosmer, the most calm, collected quarterback I have seen in my time watching the Golden Gophers when it comes to sitting in the pocket in clutch moments, especially, but throughout the time. When there's blitzes coming, when there's pressures coming, it's like he's already seen it ahead of time and he knows exactly where it's coming from. Now, yes, sometimes he would try to scramble out, still got sacked, things like that, but he saw where the pressure was coming from. There was no moments where he's taking a blindside hit and fumbling the ball. There was no moments like that, because he was so intellectually advanced when it comes to the quarterback play that it's some of the best I've seen here. Probably the highest field IQ I've seen. They were talking about they had like 30 different checks that he could make every game. And for the Penn State game, they had almost up to 60 different checks that he could make, 60 different looks that he could make depending on what he saw, what pressures were coming, and things like that. High field IQ. On top of that, great leader, great presence. I was at some of the pressers he was at. Super humble guy, always talking up his team. Never has a negative thing to say, but always has room for growth and improvement. Definitely what you look for in a quarterback. And the production was impressive. We're going to get to the production, but I think when you look at the tape is almost more impressive than what the production is. And I think that that is going to be proven during this NFL draft period, because you think about what coaching systems are thriving right now. Kyle Shanahan with Purdy. Everybody talks about his QB system and how any QB could fit there. You look at Sean McVay. You look at Mike McDaniel, who comes from that Shanahan tree. You look at KOC, who comes from the McVay tree. You got Atlanta, who came from the McVay tree. You got the Titans dude, who came from, I believe, the McVay tree. You got all of these, I think 8 or 9 coaches that are from that Shanahan and McVay type systems that want the Kirk Cousins, that want the guys that can see it ahead of time, make the right decisions, make the right checks, make the right reads, get the ball out fast. Is that not exactly what Max Brosmer does? And now he's going to the Shrine Bowl, which is the second highest senior bowl for a lot of these guys when it comes to NFL preparation. The Senior Bowl being the number one. Your boy, Brevin Spann-Ford, was out at that Senior Bowl. That being said, this Shrine Bowl is different because Shedeur Sanders skipped out on the Senior Bowl and said, I'm going to the Shrine Bowl, which means quarterback wise, there are going to be a ton of scouts at this Shrine Bowl watching Max Brosmer, watching Shedeur Sanders, watching Curtis Rourke, who's another name at the top of these lists. On top of that, now I got points, bro. I got all this.
I'm here
all
for
this.
it. I've been you heard me. I'm all over the map.
Jordan Reed.
Okay.
Jordan Reed. I don't know if you know Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed used to be a huge NFL analyst with the Draft Network. Now he's with ESPN. He got to upgrade. They gave him a bigger paycheck. Number 9 quarterback for him in this draft process. Connor Rogers, Trevor Sikkema, both with big networks, multiple affiliations, have him at quarterback 10, quarterback 11. And that's assuming Quinn Ewers goes to the draft, which we don't know yet. So he could easily be in the top 10 for multiple big-time NFL analysts. Mel Kiper, it's time to update, bro. Get off I can't even get off the thesauruses and hit the Googles, because it's time to upgrade a little bit here.
He'll get Mel. He works hard. He works hard.
He'll catch up, but I think that overall this bowl season is going to give Max Brosmer every opportunity, and the pro day as well, which the Gophers have their biggest, probably most impressive overall draft class of prospects, with a first-round guy who's going to have a ton of scouts coming through in Ariante Ursary. Yep. Daniel Jackson's going to have guys coming out to look at him. Justin Wally's going to have guys coming to look out at him. Cody Lindenberg's going to have some scouts coming to look at for him. So all those scouts on hand will be there for Max Brosmer. And even if they're not looking for Max Brosmer, I think he pops off the page like that when you're in the scenario with him. So it seems like all the cards are lining up for him to sneak into the NFL draft potentially. And if he does that, he'll be the first Gopher drafted since 1972. That alone puts him into that category for me of
You're correct. You're correct. No, you're
now,
right.
Tristyn, I need to point something out real quick. All of that I just said, I did not bring up his numbers one time. His numbers are 2,828 passing yards, third most in single season history for the Gophers, 18 touchdowns, tied for eighth most in single season history, and single season school record with 268 completions. The dude is the
He was a
ninth
baller
highest graded quarterback in PFF this year, and
in
he's the
1 year.
fifth highest passer grade in PFF in the entire country this year. If you give him another year, I think he's going to have better numbers than he had this year. But even if you only give him 172 yards more, just 172 yards, I feel like that's very small, very minuscule. If you do that, he gets a 3,000 yard season. He's the second Gopher to ever get 3,000 yards. And you put his 2 yards together, he would have the second best season, the fourth best season, and he would have over 5,000 yards and be the seventh highest passer in the school history. Like, the dude's pace was nuts. He has all the potential and the high field IQ to get him to the next level. And I just think that what we witnessed is super special. And even though it was 1 year, I'm ready to call him a Gopher great.
You're right. No, I think I might have been trying to be a hater. I was maybe being a hater. But
I don't even think you're being a hater. I feel like the older generation is going to like listen to everything I just said and say, it doesn't matter. He only did it for 1 year.
see, I think that might be where I was at. In my brain, I was like, can we even ask this question with only 1 year? Like the sample size is so small. But yeah, you sold me. I'm in. Because the numbers don't lie. And on top of that, like literally he shows up on campus and is just in 1 year. One season is all that took. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Even looking at his first game, so I believe they said his biggest audience that or crowd, I guess, that he played for at New Hampshire was like around 10,000. His first college football game was a night game versus North Carolina at the bank with like 40,000 plus fans, and he didn't have a single turnover. Now, he looked a little frazzled at times. He was definitely still getting warmed up, but he wasn't a detriment to his team. And then in that final drive, I don't know if you remember it, so it looked like, what's going on? We didn't get to really see much of Max, and all of a sudden that final drive, they go quick game, and it's like, holy crap, who is this quarterback? What is he doing? He's moving us down the field. He puts us into game-winning kick field goal territory. And that wasn't the last time he did it. I think we had an opportunity to win the game based on a Max Brosmer drive over 5 times this season. Like,
oh, I was going to say, he had like 2 game-winning drives at the UCLA game. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, those are the things that maybe people won't think back to, but like if you actually dive into it, it's like, holy crap, this dude was special, and that's why I think I'm ready to put him there. I don't care if it was 1 year. Like, he did enough in that 1 year for me to be like, he's probably the best Gopher quarterback I've seen in my 30 years, and the only other one that I'd maybe put in the conversation is Adam Weber, who had some nutty passing yard years. 2019 Tanner Morgan, much love, much respect, but everything after that, it didn't diminish it for me, but it made me just say, like, okay, that year was amazing, but he's not one of the best quarterbacks I've seen, if that makes sense.
Took away Rashad and Ty Johnson, and things got different. But that's okay.
Still love to him. I mean, shout out, he held it down for us, multiple 9-win seasons. Like, I got nothing but love for Tanner Morgan.
The nicest guy you've ever met.
But yeah, I think Max Brosmer is probably the best quarterback I've seen with Gophers, and maybe you say Adam Weber is, but if you could say he's one of the best in the last 30 years, one of the top 2 in the last 30 years, we got to put him there.
Yeah, you're right. I'm on board with you. I'm on your side. You win.
I win this argument. This debate is mine. I convinced the Gopher homer that his Gopher should be a legend.
Exactly. It doesn't take much to twist my arm. But
that's what I was figuring. All right, well, that's going to do it for us here at the Gopher Broke podcast. We are going to have a show next week. We're going to look at next year's schedule. We're going to tell you if we think it's easier than this year or more difficult, and we'll also talk about the next Gophers that could be in the NFL. We'll dive through who will be at that pro day, who could get drafted, and more. So we'll see you next time at the Gopher Broke podcast. I'll see you then. Tris, anything you got for the people?
No, just subscribe. Hand up. I'm going to do it with everyone. I haven't subscribed on Spotify yet, and that's on me. That's on me. We're giving free subscriptions on Spotify. Just go on there. That's on me. Hand up. So everyone take this time to get on Spotify, get on Apple, get on it all, and subscribe.
Yeah, share with a friend. Tell a friend.
Yeah. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Tell them it's free. Tell them you'll pay for it. Tell them you'll pay for the subscription
Yes,
to our
that's
podcast.
the way to go.
It's
That
free.
is the way to go.
Yep.
All right, we'll see you next time. Till then.